Hey everyone! So, if you've been keeping an eye on Singapore's property scene, you know the last few years have been, well, a total roller coaster for renters. But after all that turbulence, it looks like the winds are finally changing. Today, we're going to dive into what we're calling the Great Rental Rebalance and figure out what's really going on.
And this quote right here, it just nails it. Those days of crazy, frantic bidding wars, where landlords pretty much held all the cards, they're fading into the background. A major power shift is happening, and it's creating a whole new ballgame for tenants and landlords.
So here's our game plan for today. First, we'll look at how the market is changing. Then, we'll get into the two big reasons why it's happening: a huge wave of new homes and a slowdown in renter demand. After that, we'll talk about what this all means for you and why having a smart strategy is now more important than ever.
All right, let's jump right in. Section 1. The market is changing. We're seeing a move away from that wild surge in prices to something a lot more stable.
Okay, so while rents are definitely still high compared to a few years ago, those crazy month-after-month price hikes have really cooled off. The balance of power is starting to shift away from a market that was, frankly, all about the landlords. And look, this isn't just happening by chance. It's being driven by two massive forces hitting at the same time. Let's start with the first one.
First up, let's talk about supply. We are seeing what you could absolutely call a supply shock, a massive wave of new housing that is just about to hit the market.
Just look at this number, 13,500. That is the estimated number of HDB flats that are going to finish their mandatory stay-in period in 2026. That means they can finally be rented out. We're talking about a huge injection of new rental homes into the system.
And what's really wild is the scale of this jump. The 13,500 units we're expecting in 2026 is almost double the number from 2025. So this isn't just a small bump, it is a giant wave of new supply getting ready to enter the market. And for anyone who might not know, the MOP, or minimum occupation period, is just that 5-year stretch where HDB owners have to live in their own flat. Once those 5 years are up, they get the green light to either sell it or, and this is the key part for us, rent out the entire place. Now, this new supply isn't spread out evenly. It's really concentrated in key estates. We're talking Punggol, the super central Queenstown, and Tampines North. These newer modern flats are going to be in direct competition with older units, and even nearby private condos, which is going to put even more pressure on rental prices.
Okay, so that's one side of the coin. Now let's look at the other, what we're calling the demand break. Because at the exact same time supply is surging, the growth in demand from renters is actually starting to slow down.
And this isn't just a vibe shift. It's being driven by actual policy. Recent changes in the government's budget include tighter rules for foreign professionals, and they make up a really big slice of the rental market.
This slide shows you exactly what I mean. The minimum salary needed for key work permits like the Employment Pass and S-Pass is going up a lot. Now, this doesn't mean the foreign workforce is going to shrink, but it definitely slows down the rate of growth, which in turn puts the brakes on the demand for rental housing.
So, here's the crucial part. It's not just about policies on paper. It's about how real people, actual tenants, are behaving now. That sense of urgency is gone. People are taking their time, they're comparing way more listings, they're negotiating harder, and they're totally willing to move to a different neighborhood to get a better deal. Caution has officially replaced desperation.
So, with a flood of new supply and renters who are way more cautious, what does this actually mean for you? Let's get into the new rules of renting in this changing market.
This is really the key question, isn't it? As the market rebalances, the whole dynamic of negotiating is shifting, and tenants are finding they have way more leverage than they've had in years.
And get this, here's a fascinating bit of data that really shows that power shift. The rental price gap between the most expensive properties in the city center and those just on the city fringe has shrunk to only 8%. When the price difference is that small, it gives tenants a powerful new bargaining chip.
So this is your new playbook. You can use that tiny 8% gap to maybe even upgrade your location. You can bring up the thousands of new MOP flats coming online in an area to negotiate for better terms. And most importantly, you can, and you really should, take your time. Landlords are becoming a lot more flexible because the last thing they want is an empty unit.
Okay, this brings us to our final and maybe most important section. In this new environment, winning for both landlords and tenants isn't about luck anymore. Strategy is the new key to getting what you want as we head into 2026.
This slide pretty much sums up the entire mindset shift. For landlords, the top priority isn't about chasing the absolute highest possible rent anymore. It's about keeping a good tenant. It's just better to secure someone reliable at a slightly lower rent than to risk having the place sit empty. And for tenants, the old habit of just taking whatever is offered is out. It's been replaced by a new focus on comparing and negotiating.
So let's wrap this up with this one critical point. The market is not crashing. It is rebalancing. And that means success isn't about trying to perfectly time the top or the bottom. It's all about being strategic and adapting to this new reality. So, I'll just leave you with this final thought. In a market that's finally finding its balance, who really wins? Is it the person who waits for the perfect moment, or is it the one who understands these new dynamics and adapts their strategy? Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.